Hey everybody, this is the Inside Handoff Football Podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Johnny V, and it's truly a pleasure to be here with you guys wherever you're watching and or listening from. We got a really great show lineup for you guys tonight. We got all of week 1 to talk about. We got some news coming out this last week and change or so. Since we didn't get you a show last week, we were just enjoying the preseason glow and getting ready for week 1. We got the results of our week 1 pick'ems, where we didn't do too great as a whole. And we've got, for the first time in the 2-minute drill this week, we have our offensive MVP, our defensive MVP, and our WTF Award of the week. That's anything that makes you go, what the... Fill in the word. All right, joining me as always... Joining us as always are my co-hosts and colleagues. First, Jer, how you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I actually watched more football last Sunday than in a single sitting than I've probably watched in a couple years now. It was a good day.
That's just sad because my Sundays are all red zone, and then the primetime game. And then do it all
then the
over
Monday
again on
night
Monday
game.
night.
And which had to go to overtime, so old guys like me couldn't go to sleep.
I'll admit I cared so little about that game that as soon as my boy Hollywood Brown scored that touchdown to give me the week versus you in redraft, I stopped watching that game.
Let's save our talk for later.
All right, joining us as always, you've heard him a few times interjecting himself as stated. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm here early.
That is just factually true. Peek behind the curtain this week. It wasn't Zach that was late. It was Jer.
I was renovating my living room.
In Jer's defense, I will say that we were under the assumption that we would be recording at late o'clock, which is not. Hey, you guys ready at 8:45? Huh? What? That's not late.
Yeah, I preferred I was like, hey, can we do this at late o'clock? And then Zach messages us at 8:30 and he's like, all right, let's go.
I'm free at 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. Let's do it. No, okay, that's fine with me. Well, we got a fun show for you guys, so let's jump right into it. We are going to break the huddle. We're going to cover the news and things of that nature. We'll do more reviewing of the week's new actual Sunday news as we go on outside of injuries and stuff like that. All right, we're going to jump this right off with the Dallas Cowboys took a hit to their offensive line when Lyle Collins got suspended 4 games for violating the PED policy. Now, of course, you're immediately assuming, oh man, he popped positive for something, right? That's the assumption when you see, 4-game suspension for the PED policy. No, sir. He has been suspended 4 games for missing his appointment with the P Cup. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I'd rather you get popped for that than doing it, because I don't know. I mean, it's just a weird one. For me, either you guys... Jerry, you're a Cowboys fan. What's going through your mind when you read that Collins has been suspended and then find out more specific reasons as to why he got suspended?
Okay, he didn't get popped for being on prohibited drugs. He got popped because he was hiding, so he didn't get popped for being on prohibited drugs. So... I mean, I get it, but you can't just skip out on a drug test like that. I mean, obviously they're going to either remind you or reprimand you, and I guess he ran out of chances, and now he's not playing football for a little while. Lesson learned? We'll see. Some people don't get it.
I'll say this, though, in his defense, and this is something that, Jason LaCanfora, who is, of course, one of the bigger names in the football writers collective, has reported since then that Collins has been tested 10 times per month for the last 18 months, and he did not pop positive between October 21st and August 11th, 2020 to 2021, respectively. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird one because,
Maybe he slept in.
obviously, you've taken the test. You know you're not taking anything. Now, is it because you know that after August 11th, you took something that you shouldn't have, and now you're trying to avoid it? Or is this just a case of, seriously, enough is enough? 10 times per month, in 18 months, that works out to 180 negative results? I mean, again, this kind of goes back to White Rabbit we chased a few weeks ago when we were talking about other things that, I'm not going to chase that rabbit here, but it is that same rabbit going across the screen. If you listen to past episodes, you know the White Rabbit I'm referring to. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird situation. He is, of course, appealing and fighting the suspension, so it may actually go away just on sort of, a good faith principle. Take a fresh one, and if it's negative, no big deal. I mean, that seems like the easy solution to me. Like, you miss these tests, fine. That's okay, good, because you have been a good boy up to this point. So, here you go, pee in this cup, and if it's negative, then don't do it again. If we tell you to pee in a cup, you pee in the cup. But, I don't know. Zach, do you have any comments on peeing in cups?
I'm thinking if he actually missed the thing on purpose in any manner, that's because you're hiding something. Like, you don't miss a drug test intentionally unless you have something to hide, whether it's a PED or some other prohibited substance that would have popped up on the test. He had it. But if there's some legitimate reason, you know what I mean? Like, he slept in or something, like, I don't know if that's going to pass because I don't know how you really prove you slept in. But, he has a legit reason in which he wasn't there for it and can prove that and verify it, then I don't really think the suspension should hold, and hopefully it doesn't. But again, if he has no reason, he's just like, oh, no, I couldn't go, and that just seems suspicious to me, and he should take a suspension and move on.
I will clarify this, that it wasn't one missed test. It was, in fact, 7 missed tests that he and his camp claim to have good reasons for missing. Now, that, of course, could be true, but unless they're, springing these on you within, be here in an hour, oh, I can't, I've got to be somewhere else, it's probably a better way to communicate that than to miss the test 7 times. That's
what a coincidence. He had to wash his hair those 7 days.
So, he doesn't have much hair. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those situations that you just kind of scratch your head and be like, really? Really? Like, just, whatever. It's a stain that's going to hang over his career for a long time. So let's move on to the next topics, and that is, of course, the Baltimore Ravens running back turnover, which if you've been following, you will know that at the beginning of August, their running back room was all set. They were going to have Gus, and they were going to have J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, that was going to be their pair. J.K. would be the bell cow, and Gus would pick up the leftovers. By the time week 1 came around,
Tryson Williams.
Neither of those guys are to be found, and now the room is, was Tryson. Was he a UDFA, or did he actually get drafted?
I'm pretty sure he's a former undrafted free agent.
So, okay, so he's a former UDFA, and now they have added, it started with Lev Bell, was the first one?
No. They signed Lev Bell. Squad, and then they added Devonta Freeman to the practice squad. Then they signed Latavius Murray, promoted Latavius Murray, who was the third one signed, to the main squad for the game, and left both Devonta and Le'Veon on the practice squad.
I mean, to me, that's just confusing as all get out. Like, in an era where I don't know if they've changed practice squad rules because of, the pandemic, so I can't speak to that. But I mean, typically practice squad spots are limited, and you're taking up two of those spots with two guys that, if you're going to sign after working them out, you're not going to practice squad them. You're just going to sign them to the roster. It's just, I don't know.
And they had that other kid too, who just went to the 49ers. I forget his name.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird situation in that room, and when we get to the IR segment later, you'll understand a bit more that they are just having awful luck as far as running backs. I mean, they now have a total of 4 running backs on IR, 3 running backs on IR.
You know who has worse luck than them though? The Colts, because they don't have any luck.
Yeah. I wondered when that joke.
That joke will be used another 50 more times.
50? You're being generous. If you've known Jer at any length of time, as Zach and I both have, you will know that bad jokes are Jer's signature. So we apologize to our listeners for having to deal with these jokes. We have to put up with them on a daily basis. At least you guys only have to hear them once a week. So, yeah, the Baltimore turnover in their running back room has to be tearing up their game plans, right? I mean, you go into the season planning for JK. He's a young guy. He's in his sophomore year. Is he going to break out? Is he not going to break out? What's he going to be? Who's he going to be? And then, of course, obviously, you've got a guy like Lattimore that you don't want to run as often outside of, designed run plays. This kind of has to screw with their game plan a lot.
I think they just run it next man up and hope for the best.
Well, they got Tyson Williams, who really showed up in that Monday night game.
Did anyone show up in that Monday night game?
Yeah, he had over 100 yards.
I mean, they've got guys to do it, and I think they've got enough there to where it might not change the game plan much. But yeah, it's definitely a downgrade than what they had a month and a half ago.
I think the true test is next week, because heading into week 1 and having as much running back turnover as they have heading into this game, there's no way that the Raiders game planned for the running back they actually played against. Obviously they start out preparing for JK, and then he gets hurt, so now it's Gus, and you prepare to Gus until literally 3 days before the game. I think when Gus got hurt, right, it was Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. Midweek last week when Gus goes down, and now all of a sudden you're dealing with some guy you probably don't have much footage on. It's an awkward situation. I think next week's the test where teams will now have full game footage on this guy to know what he's capable of and how he likes to play the game. I guess whether or not that'll affect the game plan long term, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, the biggest change in a football team is always between week 1 and 2, because
Absolutely.
then they've shown their hand. Then
Absolutely.
You can actually game plan for a team and have some semblance of an idea of, and even introspectively, you can look at your own strengths and weaknesses and what you thought was going to work coming into week 1 and what didn't work.
I'm feeling oddly personally attacked by that statement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams or the rest of the Green Bay offense in that? Because
wait, they played this week?
Yeah,
apparently. I must have missed that game.
I don't think they got off the bus.
We'll talk about them in the booth review, obviously, because that's a big topic of conversation. All right, let's move on to our next one, and that is a Watt is now. Is he the highest paid? Did he eclipse?
Yeah.
So a Watt is once again above the highest paid defensive lineman in football. It's not JJ, it's TJ. Signed a 4-year extension, $112 million. $80 million is fully guaranteed. I don't know what other guarantees he has in the contract, but that's what we know so far. 4 years, $112 million, 80 of which is fully guaranteed.
it. He's worth it, 100%.
I don't think anyone could really argue that he's not worth it with some of the things he'd put up. Normally, this is where I'd go to Jer, who'd hit us with those statistics that he is an amazing guy that has some of these great statistics. But I mean, Jer's woefully unprepared this week.
Hey, he made a top 5 quarterback have a real bad day on Sunday. A lot of that was because of him. So, he's earning that paycheck.
No, it really is. You've usually got the fun statistics for us that
he had 2 sacks and a forced fumble.
I'm not saying he had a bad game in any stretch.
He was number 1 in all the main statistical categories for outside, like for pass rushers last year. Tackles for loss, sacks, I think QB pressures. He was number 1 in all of them. Even though Aaron Donald won the Player of the Year.
4 full seasons, and the guy has 51.5 sacks. I guess 49.5 sacks as he picked up 2 on Sunday. So full career is 51.5 sacks, 233 combined tackles, 171 solo, 62 assists, 60 tackles for a loss, 116 quarterback hits, and that doesn't include quarterback pressures or anything like that. The only statistic that he hasn't got yet is safeties. I mean, he's forced 18 fumbles, and over his career has surprisingly no touchdowns. I figured he would have at least picked up one scoop and score at some point in his career. But no, he's absolutely worth it, and with the inflationary value of contracts and caps, I think a $112 million contract today in 4 years is actually going to seem small to a certain degree. Like, I think by the time we get to year 4 of this, he's going to be underpaid at his position, which is strange to say, but that's just the way contracts are ballooning.
As long as he doesn't fall in skill, I agree.
Well, of course. I mean, it's assuming that he stays at this level of performance for the next 4 years, which he should. I mean, 4 years from now, he's only 30 years old? So, I mean, he's probably still got another 3 to 4 years left in the tank then, depending on how he holds up as far as injuries and stuff go. All right, we move from one extension to the next one, which is interesting because the player proceeded to immediately, I think 2 hours or so after reports of his extension came out, he got hurt. And that is Marshawn Lattimore signed an extension of 5 years, $97.6 million, $68.3 million guaranteed, and the contract can max out with bonuses at $100 million.
Saints certainly like to hand out that money.
I'd say they have money to hand out now that Drew's not there.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. So they hand it out. He's a great player. I think probably a top 5 cornerback, but that's $20 million a year. Again, the salary cap is supposed to go up a lot. So if that's true and the rumors are true, we might be looking at this contract in 2-3 years and thinking the same thing we were saying about Watt.
I think defensive back contracts are the ones that probably should inflate the most right now because, let's be honest, the skill of wide receivers has just shot through the roof in the last few years.
Well, it shows New Orleans finally forgave him for the Minnesota Miracle, so that's good.
I doubt that. He probably would have got 120 if they forgave him for that.
I thought that was Marcus Williams that did that. Was that Marshawn Lattimore?
I'm pretty sure it was Marshon.
I think it was. I'm about 95% sure.
I mean,
I always thought it was Marcus Williams.
This is where we need a 4th guy in the booth who's just our fact checker who, corrects us when we say stupid shit, and when we have questions like this, he's there to pull up the facts. That's what we need. We need a producer.
Yes.
Wait, isn't that my job? No.
The one we have sucks.
Do you think we can get Kieran on for that?
Okay. All right. Let's move on to.
Hopefully he doesn't hear the episode.
We'll know if he does.
I know.
That's the litmus test. Are you actually listening to our shows, Kieran, or just telling us that you are? We'll find out in the next few days. All right, let's move on to our next question. And this one could have gone, I guess, in either segment here or in the booth review. I put it here because, I don't know, I just put it here and I didn't feel like changing it after the fact. So here's the question, gentlemen. The team beat their opponent last week. The heck? Sorry, I'm getting like
that narrows it down to 16.
No, it was showing me results from preseason games. Like that's what I was looking for. Thank you. The team had a total of 449 yards, 289 passing, a $160 rushing, 22 first downs, with 12 for 21 on third down efficiency. Only took 5 penalties for a total of 50 yards, and their time of possession was 35 minutes and 4 seconds, and they, of course, beat their opponent by a final score of 37-21. So I pose this question to you. Based on that stat line, gentlemen, are the Houston Texans a good football team?
No. Urban Meyer's bad.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. I don't think they're as terrible as we had expected, but I don't think they're going to beat a playoff team this year. You know, there's enough bad teams around them that I could see them winning, 3-4 games. And Jacksonville obviously is right down there with them. But I think they've got enough pieces. And Tyrod Taylor looked really good. And I think that's the catch, though. There's enough bad teams at the bottom, and I don't have their schedule in front of me. I could see them pulling out, 3-4 wins where they look like world beaters, even though there's enough proof contrary to that fact.
I mean, I truly don't know, if they're a bad, I don't know if the Texans are a good team or if Jacksonville's a bad team. I mean, Jacksonville, of course, they got dealt a pretty big blow to their, planned strategy when ATN got hurt. That changed
when they hired Urban Meyer.
I mean, Urban actually looked okay.
He got asked about the USC job today.
Yeah, but that was always going to happen. Let's be honest. He's a high-profile college coach. He was always going to be asked about that. All right? It's really, to me, no different than people suddenly being like, Eric Bieniemy's name comes up in this.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to people with the credentials because, let's be honest, it's a big job.
Well, plus he's known for skipping out on an NFL team way before and jumping back to college, so...
I mean, but let's be honest, though. I mean, the Texans' defense is, I don't want to say probably, but the offense is what's going on. Because, I mean, Trevor Lawrence still had a game. I mean, he threw the ball 51 times, 28 completions, 332 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
And 3 picks.
The problem is that he also threw 3 picks along with that. If he didn't throw those 3 picks, it's probably a completely different ballgame. So I just don't know if that's him sort of having to learn. But let's be honest, I do not want my rookie quarterback throwing the ball 51 times in a game. That's not...
No.
That's not good.
Oh, man.
I mean, James Robinson barely saw the ball, really.
5 carries, 25 yards.
Exactly.
Carlos
they had nothing
9
outside of... There was nothing outside of Trevor Lawrence for that offense. That was... anything that was going to scare the Texans. They weren't passing the ball off. It was, you play deep and Trevor's going to throw it, and they were able to pick him off a couple times. Much
more undisciplined team, too, taking 10 penalties, did Jacksonville. Zach, is there anything you want to add to this? You kind of just wrote off Urban Meyer off the top, and then you've been silent since then.
Well, I don't really, I genuinely just don't think Jacksonville is a good team at all. They weren't really a good team last year, especially defensively. They didn't seem to fix anything or add much to it. Urban Meyer's a brand new coach from, I know he's been in the league before and such, and he's got a history of coaching, but he's new to the league. These are all new guys, too. Sorry, let me correct myself. The players aren't used to him. They're a new scheme for all of them. So I think that this doesn't really say much for the Texans when nobody really knew how the Texans were going to come out and play, if they're going to be aggressive, run heavy, whatever it was. Like you guys were saying, what happens in week 1 and week 2 are two completely different things. And I feel like we're going to see a different Texans going forward. I don't think they're a good team. And I don't think that defense of Jacksonville is quite as bad as it looked, but I do think it's a bad defense. And we got to see those two things come together.
I think it's safe to say that the Texans have a litmus test this week. In week 2, their opponent is the Cleveland Browns, who very nearly knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs in a probably what was the best game of the week, I'd say.
They're going to get crushed.
I don't think there's any game that comes close to that one as far as game of the week category. So
yeah, but Fox usually has 2 games of the week and they're on at the same time.
Well, we're not talking about who calls it the game of the week, but what is actually the game that I want to sit down and watch from start to finish. And that game this week was probably the Browns versus the Chiefs. Niners-Lions was actually a pretty good game, too, in a weird sort of way. But we'll talk about that.
Nobody saw that Lions comeback coming.
No.
Speaking of start to finish, time for the list of list of injuries. Holy, the long list of injuries.
Well, we're gonna start that off by saying today this news came out that DeMarcus Lawrence suffered a broken foot today in practice. Recovery time, they're saying he's out indefinitely, but they're also saying they expect him to be back within 6 to 8 weeks, putting his return back at the end of October into early November.
So he's primed for their playoff run. Shut up, Zach.
I mean, I guess they still might take the division because, well,
I really like Philly in that division at the moment. Their offense is just firing.
They did look really good. We'll just have to see if they continue to be that.
Jared, did you mean playoff speed run?
Yeah.
Or speed walk, I should say.
They're gonna run through everybody in the playoffs. Yeah.
I think the only playoff they might be in come January is, I'd say, on the golf course, but well, now they're a Texas-based team. They could be on the golf course in January.
Sure.
DeMarcus Lawrence, broken foot, out 6 to 8 weeks. Has not yet been placed on IR, but I would assume that's probably forthcoming. All right, we're going to run through the IR. These are guys who have been put on the injured reserve at some point in the last 2 weeks, since that was the last time we did a show. If you want to stop on a person, go ahead. There is one specific name that I'm going to stop on, so I'm going to save him to the end because it's actually significant to the team and completely changes their outlook. So we're going to run through Mekhi Becton, offensive guard for the New York Jets.
There's a sad video I saw of him. He's getting carted off, and he looks at the trainer and he goes, "I was doing so good," and it's like, damn.
That does hurt. Like pull the heartstrings a little there.
Yeah,
right?
Those moments, they suck when you see that.
Yep.
Gerald McCoy, defensive tackle, Las Vegas Raiders.
So he's played 2 quarters in the past. What will have been the past 2 seasons. He didn't make it out of training camp last year, so
he's having a great run. We'll see if he actually comes back or not. Ronald Darby, defensive back, Denver. Keep the hits coming. Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Denver.
Now, luckily, that's kind of a short-term-ish injury with the ankle.
Yeah, it's a high ankle sprain, so it's presumed he'll be back. Not necessarily as soon as he's able to be cleared, but within.
Yeah, Johnny, high ankle, and you trying to scare me with it.
Whoa, now, buddy, I'm telling you what it looked like. I'm telling you what it looked like. His leg rolled in an awkward fashion. Okay, I'm saying it
facing the wrong
like
direction.
It could have been.
Thank God you're not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on television. I can just tell you what it looked like, and it did not look good. Now, we've all been watching football long enough that we've seen plays where guys get twisted around or ankles get rolled and legs get bent at such weird angles that it's like, oh, damn, that had to... No, he's walking off the field. He's perfectly fine. And the other case is true where somebody just literally walking tears an ACL. So it looked ugly.
no more.
Thankfully, it wasn't.
I can't deal anymore with this Broncos stuff. Gotta move on.
Well, that was the last one. In the over-under on Raheem Mostert injury, the answer was week 1. If you took that in your respective pools, good for you. Good choice. He did not last long this season. Jason Verrett, defensive back, also San Francisco. Michael Gallup has galloped his way to the IR. He's a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys.
What happened with that one? I missed that.
I honestly have no idea. I just pulled it off the list. I think it came... I don't think it was an in-game injury. I think it came before that. I don't know.
Okay.
Gallup? No, it was during the game.
Was during the game?
It was like third quarter.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Like I was watching Red Zone. I didn't see it.
Okay.
Gus Edwards, running back, Baltimore. Justice Hill, also running back, Baltimore. Curtis Samuel, wide receiver for the Washington football team, which brings us to the last one, which to me as a fan, I hate this one because I love this guy so much. Ryan Fitzmagic, quarterback, Washington football team, has suffered an injury that is likely to end his season.
Yeah, his hip is out of joint, right?
It was a hip injury. I mean, that sucks. I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it happens when you play football and you're over 40 or when you get out of bed and you're over 35. It just happens. These are the things you got to live with.
It sucks. You know, I like the guy. He's always a feel-good story. You know, he's that quarterback that every year everybody writes him off like, he can't do it again. He can't be good again. And then he is good again. It helps when you're one of the smartest people in professional football. I mean, I don't know if anybody... Does he still hold the record for the...
I think so.
The test? I can't even...
The Wonderlic?
The Wonderlic.
I think so.
I love the name of that, the Wonderlic.
Everyone's on his, on his shoulders. And, hey, he's great. He's a really inspirational story. And then he gets benched by week 5.
He is the greatest player coach in football. You know, if I'm drafting,
I'm not the only one struggling talking today.
if I'm drafting a quarterback in week 1 that's not gonna start week 1, I want him to learn from Fitz because that guy's gonna. He's got a high success rate of, people that follow him in certain cities. Yeah, sucks to lose him. Washington's really gonna miss him. They're stuck with what?
Heineke's good. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting.
He's underrated, I think.
It was to our next point. RG3 is campaigning for the job on Twitter and Instagram.
He'd tear his ACL walking in the building to sign the 1-year contract. So, no, thank you.
I don't know if Zach's talking to us or if someone off camera right now because he's muted, and I don't even know if he's got us volume-wise so he can hear us or not. If he can hear us, hey buddy, you got anything to say about RG3? If he can't hear us, the Denver Broncos suck and they're not going to win a game. Hi, Zach, how you doing?
I can hear you. I can hear you. We're just someone that showed up for a second.
RG3, going back to Washington, anything? Just make you laugh? Does it?
Is it? That's not. Did
it hasn't happened. He's campaigning for the job on Twitter and Instagram.
I think it should be something they can consider, but I don't know. They're going to run it with who they have, so I think in the end it's probably pretty silly. I think Ron Rivera is going to want a quarterback that knows the system and already has it going.
I mean, I don't think they were carrying 3 quarterbacks on the roster, were they? I don't
yeah, Heineke and... God, I can't even think of the other one right now. He played for them before.
Oh, Kyle Allen?
Yeah, that's who the other one is, Kyle Allen.
Yeah, he played for the Panthers 2 years ago, maybe.
Both these guys have been with Ron Rivera for a bit.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they were rostering 3 or not. If they are, then I guess it's not necessarily a big deal to run out and sign anybody. But if they were only rostering 2, then yeah, they did obviously have to go out and fill that hole. But yeah, I mean, if they want to bring him back sort of as a feel-good story, RG3 has returned to Washington, and he's perfectly content being the the guy with the headset on carrying the clipboard, then fine. Okay, sign him. But if he wants to be the starter, then no. Just no.
I think his starting days are long gone. He's a relief backup that when the rookie's not ready and when the starter's hurt.
Those are the guys you go to.
He's functional enough to get the job done, but he's serviceable and nothing more than that, I think.
As long as that job is to carry us over, not carry us on, I think he's a good guy to have. But if he's not, then obviously no. All right, gentlemen, that does it. It's time for us to break the huddle, and it is now time for us to drop some Dynasty Dams on y'all. Obviously, this week we're going to start off with the movers and shakers in fantasy sports. These are the guys that nobody expected to be sort of high players. Obviously, it's week 1, so that's really not. I don't think we're gonna necessarily need to go too in depth on this because, obviously it's week 1, so the number 1 wide receiver may very well finish the season as wide receiver 125. Fantasy football is that fickle. So, is there anybody that had a fantasy performance that made you go, that's someone who's maybe undervalued by other GMs or is available on the waiver wire, but obviously don't,
mention our other guys.
Yeah. that kind of thing.
I have a guy that surprised me. Well, there's probably a few on this team, but I'll just mention one. Mark Ingram. Did not expect him to get the amount of touches he did and perform in the manner he did for the Texans. He got, 20 carries roughly, I believe. Something. It was a pretty big game for him. So I did not anticipate that with them having David Johnson and Philip Lindsay and them preaching a lot of having David Johnson on third downs and how they're going to have him involved in the offense. I really didn't think that that was going to happen, that Mark Ingram was going to have that many touches.
I think they went with the hot hand, which, what other choice do you have? You've got 3 starting running backs, and he was the leader of the pack. And I don't know if that's going to carry over to next week or if next week is going to be Johnson's week. But hey, I think he's showing that, hey, I've still got enough in the tank, and I'm going to be RB1 on this team. So I like that pick.
For me, a guy that kind of caught me off guard and, sort of made me go, Team lost the game, but Corey Davis was a guy that I was not. I knew he'd go out there and, was likely to be the number 1 guy, but they also had Denzel Mims there, so, Elijah Moore's coming up as well. So it was hard to say how the things were going to carry and whether or not the chemistry was going to be there. But, the guy had almost 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had a good game.
That's a performance that kind of makes you take notice, Is there anybody else either of you guys want to?
I got my guy.
I really like Jalen Hurts. I think there were a lot of question marks coming in when it comes to the Philly offense. He's got a rookie wide receiver. The run game has been not a benchmark on the team, and I think all the parts are in place to where there's some guys there that can put up some points. Jalen Hurts looked comfortable as a quarterback. It's his team to run. And I don't think he's got that fear of playing on his last legs, because I was hearing talk of, hey, if he doesn't perform this year, he's on the next boat out, and they draft a quarterback. But I think this is really not a contract year, but I think he's got to play like a contract year, because if he leads this team to win the division even, and I think that's a reasonable expectation, then you sign the guy and he's your guy. He's the next, 5-6 years, he's your starter. And then you just build the team around him. And they've already started doing that. And, it's 1 week and we try not to overreact, but I think that's something that will carry over for this season.
Yeah. All right, let's excuse me. We're going to move on to the next part of the Dynasty Dams segment, and this is, of course, waiver wire suggestions. Now, it's week 1, so obviously, people that are available today, obviously, they're not going to be available as the season goes on. So, right now, we're sticking with players who are rostered on under 75% total. This isn't the starter number, but this is the number of leagues where they're on a roster, and that number has to be under 75%. All right.
All right. So mine is Jawan Johnson. He's the former rookie wide receiver for last year, now switched over to tight end for the Saints. He appears to be taking over the number 1 receiving duties for the tight end position on the Saints on a team that lacks weapons. With their quarterback looks like he's going to be playing some good football and an offense that has a great offensive line. So he's not going to be needed to be blocking nearly as much like a lot of other offenses where their O-line is questionable, so they can't send their tight end out and running routes as much. They are able to do that, and he seems to be the guy. And I'm not going to say he's going to be Darren Waller, but he is a sneaky pickup. If he can start getting himself 5 to 7 targets a game and be one of the red zone guys in this kind of offense, that's a dude you want to snag. That could be a starting tight end and definitely could be a backup tight end.
I mean, to be a Darren Waller, he'd have to see the ball 86 times a game.
I said he wasn't being one.
Jer, who's your guy?
My guy, I kind of like Quintus Cephas, mostly because he reminds me of my favorite baseball pitch. But, come on, that was a great line.
I'm just surprised you know what an Ephus pitch even is.
Yeah.
Did you Google that one?
No, I watch baseball, okay?
Why
Let's
is
go
Quintus
Reds.
Cephas your guy?
Okay, Quintus Cephas, I think he's in a good offense right now because we don't really know where the ball is going to go a lot of times. And what I mean by that is Quintus Cephas did not have the highest expectations coming into the year. So through him even being more than serviceable, he's going to exceed those expectations. I mean, his projections for the year are not high, but he crushed his projections this past week and even he didn't even need to do much. 3 catches for 12 yards and a touchdown. That'll put up over 10 points in a league. So, I think finding little gold like that, where he doesn't need to be the focal point of the offense. He's a guy who's kind of under the wire a little bit, but the offense is spread out enough that he's going to see some targets. He saw 7 targets. So he's a functional member of that offense. And if he's catching touchdowns, why would you not put a bit of faith in him going forward?
Yeah. All right, my guy is not someone we've talked about on the show tonight, but we did talk about the guy he's behind on the depth chart. My guy is David Johnson. He carries a bit of a stigma because of his past, and being a part of that DeAndre Hopkins trade was not helpful for his outlook on people crying out that he's not worth being traded for DeAndre Hopkins, which of course he's not, and he never was, if we're being honest. But he's settled into a role where he's going to be the primary receiving back in that Texans offense, and they actually looked good. Did they look great? No, but they looked good. And I think moving into that role as the receiving back in that team is going to help him. He's going to be seeing those third down touches. He's going to be seeing, pass option stuff, which is something that Tyrod, I refuse to, I'm going to call him by his real name, likes to throw. He likes those kind of shovel passes and short stuff to the running backs, and it's something he's always been good at. So I definitely think there's upside in David Johnson in that offense if it continues to perform at the level it started at, which is obviously no guarantee. But I mean, the guy is rostered in 61% of all leagues. 61%. He's at the very least likely to be the number 2 back. I know he's cycling with Tevin Coleman in Houston as the number 2 back, so now that he's kind of established that role as the catching guy, I think that number's gonna go up. So David Johnson, he's my suggestion to pick him up.
Not a bad one.
All right, it is now time. We finally can use this segment. It's been in the notes and the program since we started this show, but now that we actually have real football games to talk about, we can actually go to the booth for the booth review segment. And we're going to start this one off. It's not a WTF award because it's just a generic statement of, guys, what the heck happened to the Green Bay Packers? I mean,
heck doesn't start with F.
Well, I changed it.
No, it's in the notes. It's WTF.
Yeah, I know.
What the frig, Johnny?
We've got the WTF award in the next segment, so I figured I don't want to use WTF twice. But let's be real here. This is the Green Bay Packers offense, cumulatively 229 yards of total offense, 186 passing, 43 rushing, 1 for 10 on third down, 1 for 10, and 2 for 3 on fourth down.
I'm going to just repeat what the future Denver Bronco said. It's just one game. Aaron Rodgers, he is correct. It's just one game. I would not panic.
I don't think it's a question of panicking. I mean, obviously, I'm a Green Bay fan, so I'm a little panicked. Like, what happened? Like, this is the Saints, and all we could put up is a field goal. Rodgers had 133 yards, which has to be one of his lowest totals in a non-injury game in his career, and 2 interceptions? The guy only threw 5 for the entirety of last season.
And he got benched.
I think that was as much. I don't want to say he got benched. I think it's safe to say he got pulled once the game was too far gone.
I wouldn't trust that Green Bay offense against the West Carolina Catamounts, and they lost 76-0 last week.
I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah. No, it was just
in my head.
I mean, I don't know. It was awful. I mean, Aaron Jones, who was the starter, rushed for 9 yards on 5 carries. That's awful. A.J. Dillon, 4 carries for 19. Kylan King, the third running back on the roster, had 5 for 14. Boy. I mean, I agree with Zach when he says that, it's one game, relax. And I agree with that. There are people that, we all know who were like, oh man, what happened to Green Bay? They suck. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather they suck like this on week 1 than week 12.
Or in the NFC Championship game.
That's another issue altogether. But, I mean, this was one of those prime examples where anything that can go wrong did go wrong. It's not like we threw a buttload of interceptions. I mean, there was 2. Yes, that is ridiculously high for Aaron Rodgers, but not ridiculously high for the average quarterback. A quarterback who throws 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, that's a Sunday. For some quarterbacks. A 50-50 season is a good season. A 1 touchdown to interception ratio is good for some people. Obviously, it's not good for Green Bay, where we're used to, a touchdown to interception ratio that's ridiculous. But, it is one game, and I'm not, You know, I hit the panic button during the game because you're worried about it. You know, you see this and it's like, oh God, this isn't good. This isn't right. What's happening? But it's okay. The Saints are for everything that went bad for us. Everything went right for the Saints.
I
Johnny,
think you don't
using us to
overreact.
be your therapist? Sorry, Jer. Sorry.
Am I what?
I was asking, are you using us as your therapist so you can talk out all your Green Bay things? Just tell me it's okay. Just tell me it's okay.
Yeah.
Tell me
We're gonna win next week. Please tell me it gets better.
We play the Lions next week. It gets better. They don't have Stafford anymore. We're okay.
You hope.
Well,
you hope because if it doesn't, you're really panicking.
Yeah,
if we
you
lose
play
to
the
a
fourth
Staffordless
Lions, they're in trouble.
If we lose to a Staffordless Lions, then we got a problem. Unless it's a sweaty, you know,
like if you don't overreact. But I think Green Bay is a situation where it was so bad that you can't help but think there's something to it.
Without
it
all
wasn't
the
like a
off-season drama,
21-14 loss where Rodgers threw a pick. No, this was a ass handed to you on a platter.
I think a big part of it is the preseason drama, right? You remove that, and I can sit here and just casually remind myself that Aaron Rodgers has not played a snap of professional football since the NFC Championship game finished. He skipped the preseason. He didn't play any games, so all he has is practice reps and off-season drama. And all of those things matter. Anybody who says that preseason doesn't matter is stupid. I don't care if you've been a quarterback. I don't care if you're Tom Brady. You take snaps in the preseason because you need to. Because there's no way to simulate that. I mean, you can get close with joint practices, but it's still only practice. And I don't want to devolve into some practice, I don't want to devolve into an Allen Iverson rant where I just say it's practice.
Yeah, but who did he ever beat?
All right, I don't know if I can deal with this guy. I'm done with you, Jer.
I mean, he's not wrong. Iverson didn't win a championship, but he also played against one of the best Lakers teams in history. With nobody else behind him. Just Iverson just getting to the championship in 2001 is worth a ring in any other season, I think.
2001, did he play for the Rams?
What?
We gotta move on. We're going down a bad hole.
Yeah, we're following a Jer rabbit. That's a different kind of rabbit altogether. That's like following around the Mad Hatter. Don't do that. Okay, what? Yeah, we know what the heck happened to Green Bay. Yeah, boys. We're gonna call out a specific player's performance. I'm sure that it's safe to say we'll be talking about this player again when we get to, the defensive MVP segment, because I think he's the consensus this week. But I'm going to say this right now. There is a player, okay, in the NFL who is, get this, on pace for 80 sacks this season. Can you believe that?
Watch.
The fact I've actually heard people say that this week is ridiculous to me. I mean, you can think we're going to talk about Chandler Jones, and we are, because it's safe to say I don't think anybody can pick anybody else for consensus defensive MVP. So we'll leave his statistics outside of sacks alone, and we'll talk about him later on. But this particular moment here is my moment to stand up on my soapbox and say this to sports fans across the gamut, across all sports: stop talking about projections. Stop thinking about projections. Stop caring about projections. Projections don't matter. They're garbage. It's a garbage statistic that no one should ever discuss. Do you know why? Because no human being is going to get 80 sacks in a season. What is the record right now? Bruce Smith had, 17 is the record?
No, it's 22, I think.
Is it 22?
22 and a half.
I thought it was 17. I don't know. Either way, It is a quarter of 80
Michael
sacks.
Strahan, 22.5.
Okay, Bruce was 17. Bruce set the record at 17, and then Strahan broke it. Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking
good.
Bruce's record, not Michael's record. So I'm stuck in 1994, not 2004. Seriously though, I mean, the guy's on pace for 80 sacks this season. Like, I've actually heard reporters say that number and say that the guy's on pace for 80 sacks. Does anybody even believe that's remotely possible? I mean, I play Madden a lot, okay? And that's a fucking video game where you can play on rookie. Playing on rookie with a 99 overall defensive end against an offensive line of 40 overall, you're still not going to get 80 sacks in a goddamn season.
Apparently, I was wrong with that. It is Al Baker from 1978 with 23 sacks from the Detroit Lions. So Al Baker is
okay. That's pre-sacks being a
leader.
recorded stack, so that's a reputed number, not a factual number, because they didn't start recording sacks until the early 80s.
I will not listen to heresy on Al Bubba Baker.
I'm not saying he didn't do it.
He was the 1978 Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I'm saying
letting this happen?
I'm saying strictly it doesn't count until they started recording sacks as an actual statistic.
I'm done with you, Jer. I'm done. I'm done
But seriously, I had to get up on my soapbox because this was a statistic that, I saw this. I'm like, damn, that's a hell of a game. And then you actually hear people talking about it. And you see it in groups, and you see it in posts and comments, and it's just like, what? What? Like, there's going to be games where Chandler Jones gets 0 sacks this season. It's inevitable. He's going to get hurt in the first quarter and get pulled for the rest of a game, or an offensive line is just going to be stout and shut him down, or he's going to get double-teamed all night, and somebody else on the O-line is going to get 4 sacks. Like, it's just...
hard. Yeah, no, 100%. There's no way he keeps that pace. I'm having trouble not talking about the other stuff he did, so I'm trying to keep quiet.
It's just statistically impossible that, people actually believe that. Like, I mean, even if we go with the number from random guy in the 70s, was that 27 sacks? Something like
23.
that? 23? Oh, man, he got one more sack than Michael Strahan did. Really? But, even that is still... It's ridiculous. I had to take this moment because, I have the platform because I helped create it and figured, what the hell? I created a platform. I'm going to stand on it and I'm going to soapbox. I'll concede the soapbox and say thank you for allowing me the last 5 minutes to rant. Yeah. We'll come back to Chandler Jones because, like I said, I believe he is the consensus defensive MVP. I'm sure he's mine. I know for a fact he's Zach's. I have to assume that he's Jared's as well. So we will definitely come back to him because his week was that good. But let's move on to a quarterback who has a high draft rookie nipping at his toes and still went out there and actually had a heck of a performance. I'm talking about Jimmy G and that San Francisco 49ers offense in what turned out to be a really good game with the Detroit Lions. 17 for 25, 314 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Now, Trey Lance vultured an interception from him, going 1 for 1 for 5 yards to score a touchdown in the red zone. So, it's not often you see a quarterback get his touchdowns vultured, but there you go. Trey Lance vultured a quarterback touchdown. Jimmy also rushed 3 times for 2 yards.
Well, he's not exactly Speedy Gonzalez.
Is this Jimmy making a stand and saying, I'm still an NFL caliber starter?
Yes.
I think he's sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Jer.
Well, I think it's as good of a statement as you're going to make. He knows his time is limited. You can't undraft Trey Lance. So, he's probably just making a case for, hey, I can still be a starter, but somewhere else. Or, I can be a serviceable backup somewhere else. With his.
It is very awkward to get a cramp when you're recording a podcast.
Okay, Johnny was making faces like he was Riley Reid down there, and I was a
I
little
didn't know.
concerned for him.
I can't see Johnny. I was like, why'd you stop talking? What happened?
If you're watching us on YouTube, you've seen my face for the last 30 seconds, and you're probably wondering what the f- is happening. Yeah, I had a cramp in my quad. That's
So
what
like
that
half
was.
the players in week 1.
That's right. That soapbox rant, it is a very high soapbox. I had to get up on it and come back down, and I cramped my quad. That's what happened. So, apologies for that. If you're just listening and Jared just went dead quiet, it's because even he wondered what the fuck was going on there. So, yeah, back to you, good Jared.
I think he's in a tough position, and he really made the best of it in week 1. He thrashed that Lions defense for 4 quarters, and if they were to have lost the game, it would not have been Jimmy G's fault. He did everything that was asked of him. And I think right now he's just playing to earn a safety or like a safe spot on a roster right now where, hey, starting quarterback goes down. Okay, well, Jimmy G's available. Let's get him. And he showed that he can still be a functional quarterback and win you some games. So it was almost like a test run for him, showing off to the other 31 teams in the league, because he knows his days are numbered where he's at, and he did a damn good job of it in week 1 at least.
I agree with Jared. It's basically a dress rehearsal for other jobs. He's gone out of there regardless. So at this point, play the best football you can, and hopefully you go start somewhere else where it looks like he's capable of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jared hit it precisely on the nail when he said that you can't undraft Trey Lance. And that's absolutely true. You can't undraft Trey Lance. If Jimmy G was going out on a weekly basis and, going 17 for 25 with 314 and a touchdown, they probably don't draft Trey Lance at all last year. There's no controversy. There's no rumors about him being traded back to New England, who is now in need of a starter. There's no quarterback controversy, and let's be honest, they probably won a Super Bowl by now. But the fact is, that's not the case. And you're right. This is a dress rehearsal for Jimmy Garoppolo for whatever other team now needs a starter. I mean, immediately, maybe Washington's picking up the phone and making that phone call right now. If they're not 100% confident in Heineke as the starter, that's a phone call maybe worth making. If you're Washington, to see the price, which is, of course, going to be much higher now than it was 2 weeks ago, because now Jimmy G actually looks like a bona fide starter in the NFL. Yeah. Is there anything else from week 1 that you guys want to call? Well, I only say this because we're actually, believe it or not, we're ahead of pace right now. We're actually.
I want to dive more into my player stuff, so I kind of been trying to save it.
Okay. I mean, that's certainly fine with me. If you guys want to just go right into the 2-minute drill segment here, that's going to be the focus, guys. If you're listening to this, we're going to kind of call out 2 or 3 things that happen in the week, and those are the things we'll talk about. And, we may go long, we may go short. It all depends. Obviously, some of the latter stuff, the show's going to take a bit longer because they're just longer to do. Like the pick'ems, of course, going to take quite a few minutes to get done. So let's move on to our 2-minute drill. Now, we've discussed many different ways we've done this. We've done this or that. We've done keep, start, cut. We've done, trade, draft, bench. All those different random iterations of them. And we'll continue doing those every now and again just to dust them off and pull them out, or, weeks where there's less news to talk about off the top and we have more time off the back end. But this week we're just going to do just the 3. They're going to be routine for the regular season and playoffs. where we each pick one offensive MVP, one defensive MVP, and one WTF award winner. That's anything that makes you go, what the French fries? I'm going to just completely start saying random things that start with F.
Freedom fries
with
for our fans south of the border.
No, that was only 20 years ago. I don't think they're still freedom fries. They're okay with the French again.
Well, they still talk about it.
I think they're okay with the French again. I don't know. But whatever. This is not... Who cares? What the frog legs? What the front door?
Is that what the first? Is that the first?
No, the first one we are going to start with is the Week 1 offensive MVP. Now, we've discussed many different fashions as to whether or not, we each have to pick an individual person or if we can each pick the same person. For now, we're going to be allowed to each pick the same person should that occur. If it happens too frequently, then we'll switch to, everybody comes prepared with 3 names, and then we'll flip a proverbial coin on who goes first, who goes second, and who goes third, and, see where we're at that way. But that's only if we're too often in agreement. Otherwise, I think we're still going to have some variable choices here. So, gentlemen, I'll let you decide who would like to go first for their Week 1 offensive MVP.
I'm okay with going first if you're okay with it, Jer.
Yep.
All right. So my offensive player of the week is big name Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are getting hype throughout the week. And a lot of that is because they're not usually capable of doing the things they did. That's why it's being talked about the way it is. I think while that's all going on, Patrick Mahomes has the best stat line of the night. He had 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 75% completion rate. With 18 rushing yards, if you want to add that. If you look at the other guys who had their nights, they all threw picks. All the other top guys, they all threw picks, and none of them had the completion percentage he did. I think Kirk Cousins was close to him, but he did not have the production otherwise that Patty had. So if you look at everything on the with a microscope and see it deep down, I think you'd agree it's Patty Mahomes.
Yeah.
Jer, who's your guy?
Let's see. Let me look at my notes. Oh, Patrick Mahomes. But I think Zach's right. And it's funny because a lot of that was in the second half. I mean, that offense just couldn't function in the first half of that game. The Browns were all over them, offensive and defensively. And then all of a sudden, he just started lighting it up with Travis Kelce. And everything just started connecting, and they put up, how many unanswered points was it? Like 21 or something? Or no, the Browns
playing against the Titans again.
Yeah, they just demolished the Browns in the second half of that game, and it was all off of Patrick Mahomes. They didn't really rush the ball that much. I think Clyde saw under 15 rushing attempts. So, he pretty much said at halftime, okay, I'm going to have to do what I do, and I'm going to win us this football game. And he went out, and that's exactly what he did.
I mean, I can't argue against that position at all. Patty Mahomes is obviously a good choice. But, however, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be the lone wolf, and I'm going to pick somebody else, because I did pick somebody else. And it pains me to say this because this is a player who played against the Green Bay Packers this week, but just for sheer brutal efficiency, it's Jameis Winston. He's my offensive MVP. 14 for 20, and this is the hard part: 148 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And he had 6 rushes for 37 yards. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of that game.
He did more with less.
It is brutal efficiency.
Anyone have seen? Yeah.
It's brutal efficiency. The guy had an average touchdown of, what's that breakdown to? $140 divided by 5. That's what, 20.
27-30 or something.
Something like that. I mean, like, those possessions are ridiculous. I mean, yes, Alvin Kamara rushed 20 times for 83 yards, and Tony Jones Jr. had 11 for 50, which that needs to change next week. Give more of those carries to Kamara and less to Tony Jones. Okay, but that's going to happen because they blew Green Bay out of the water so fast Kamara could sit on the sidelines and save his legs, which me in fantasy, because, meanwhile on the other side of the ball, Devontae Adams is doing garbage, and I digress. That's an entirely different issue.
Well, I honestly, Johnny, it's a pretty good pick because I didn't consider it. Like, he is on pace for 85 touchdowns, right? So, like, it should be him with the pace he's on.
I think it's 80.
So,
he'd be on the same pace as Chandler Jones, right? 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
It's 17 weeks now, Johnny. It's 17 weeks. So
they only
85.
play 16 games.
No, they play 17 now, don't they?
17 games, 18 weeks.
All right. Well, I had it wrong then. So you're right. It's actually 85, including Chandler Jones. I was forgetting a week. I was thinking
Unfortunately, he can't play Green Bay every week, so it might fluctuate a bit.
Gotta think about that pace.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't change the argument either way. 80, 85, same difference.
I know. No, I'm just.
It actually makes it worse when you add the extra 5 and the extra week. It makes it even worse. But no, seriously, I mean, it's just brutal efficiency. He didn't need to do much to just stomp all over Green Bay, and it's not like he wasn't shirking responsibility. He had some big catches, some big plays that chewed up some yards. So I don't know specifically.
Was pretty nice.
If you break it down like even further, I think it makes it even worse because there were definitely several 20-yard catches in that game that just chewed up a chunk of his efficiency that just would make it look so much worse than it actually was for Green Bay. But that was just a game where we did not play defense. I don't know what happened. Like, it's not like we were horrible. It's not like we went on fourth down a ridiculous number of times in our own end and just gave them great field position all night. Like, I don't know if they're special. But this is the disadvantage of watching it on Red Zone. I didn't get to see enough of the game to know that if they were just returning our punts really, really well, or not, which definitely turns out to be not true, because for punt returns they only had one. We only punted the ball once in that game? What?
Well, the one issue for Green
Bay.
Bay.
Through it right now.
Like if you watch Red Zone last week, you would think the Green Bay offense just didn't exist.
I don't even know what to say to that, because looking at it, we only punted the ball 4 times for a total of 176 yards, and once inside
was crazy.
Pin them inside their 20 once.
We need to have a new segment called Johnny's therapy session.
I know he's in his feelings right now.
Right?
He's going through.
Let me feel my feelings. Let's see.
Your feelings are valid, Johnny.
All right. Let's move on to our consensus, whom I believe is consensus. I don't think anybody would have picked anyone separately. I'll start because, like I said, it's the same guy across the board. I think Chandler Jones. 5 sacks, 6 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles.
And 4 tackles for loss.
Do we need to say any more than that?
I mean, they're already working on his shrine in Canton, so...
Right? They should with the pace of 85.
That's also still not the single game record, which I believe is 7.5.
Yeah.
So his pace must be crazy.
That pace would have been ridiculous in week 1. I mean, that's the pace only applies if it's in week 1, right? Otherwise, you've already put up games that affect the pace. So,
you know who probably would have had 7.5 sacks in a single game if they were counting it back then? Al Baker.
I thought you were going to say Al Bundy.
No, but he threw for 4 touchdowns at Polk High in a single game.
He was a quarterback.
One less
running
than
back.
Jameis, sorry.
That's going to hurt me all week. Does anybody else want to add anything on Chandler Jones? I guess the important question is, we know he's mine, we know he's Zach's. Jer, is he yours as well?
Yes, only because he was really the best defensive player on the field in all 16 games, I think. I mean, the defensive studs of Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald really didn't show up in the Sunday night game. I think
They
Donald
were
showed up
playing?
in the fourth quarter. Yeah, exactly. So my backup defensive MVP is probably TJ Watt. He had his way with Josh Allen on Sunday. Um, Buffalo's offense just couldn't get anything going, and he had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. So, I mean, obviously it was Chandler Jones, but TJ Watt had a pretty good week also.
Just to point that up, Khalil Mack had such a great night. His stat line was 0 tackles, 1 assist, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions.
Earning that money.
Really, really earning that money. Aaron Donald also had a great night. 1 tackle, 2 assists, 1 sack.
Yep. And that sack, I think, came late in the fourth.
Again, really earning that money. So obviously, don't need anything else to the MVP segment. So let's move on. The criteria is so wide for this one. It is the Week 1 WTF Award. That, of course, stands for What the Frijoles.
I thought it stood for Washington Team Football.
Oh, no, that's WFT. Which, if you were to ask my autocorrect, would always be WTF. Because I use that one, I don't use WFT. That's not a thing. So again, this furthers the point. I've said it at least once in every episode. Seriously, pick a flipping name already, okay? The
I like
Cleveland
Red Wolves,
Guardians picked a
honestly.
name. They did it a lot quicker. Pick a name. We let you wait
Who's your
until there
award
could be
winner,
fans.
Jared?
We let you wait until there were fans in attendance. Now you can have your fans just announce a new name already. All right, I'm done with that
Johnny's
rant
on a
again.
rant spree tonight.
I'm sowing my wild oats. I am angry and uncensored, and we're still doing great on time, so let's just keep going. Week 1 WTF Wood. Does anybody want to go first, or can I kick this one off?
Mine is
You can kick this one off.
what's going on with Odell Beckham?
Is that actually your moment?
Yes.
That's a... Okay.
I
Hey,
mean,
it's your choice.
nothing comes out all week, and then all of a sudden, Sunday morning, he's not playing with no explanation.
Yeah, and he was on the practice field too. Like he was warming
Yeah.
up and stuff. He does
So
have
they
a good play.
just yank him out, and obviously it's bad enough that he's gone this upcoming week too.
Oh, he's not playing this week either.
Yeah.
Holy.
So and there's been no explanation given that I've seen as to why he's not playing. If it's an injury, if it,
You think they're
nothing.
gonna trade him?
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing. It's just awkward. And another guy who got the mystery designation was Trey Sermon, and they could have used him on Sunday. I mean, Raheem
Yeah,
Mostert goes and does what Raheem Mostert does, and they pull out what Elijah Mitchell was it?
that was a weird moment with Sermon as well. That is
Yeah.
weird.
Just I think my WTF is just these random guys getting placed on, just being like a healthy scratch for the game when they're obviously important pieces of the offense.
Yeah, that's. I didn't really consider it. That is a good point. They were both really weird things.
Yeah. Not even from a fantasy perspective either, just in general for helping the team win. I mean, I guess San Francisco had backup plans that worked. Would the Browns game have ended differently if OBJ was catching footballs?
Possibly.
I mean, it would have helped if, Baker wasn't thrown to the other team and all. I mean, Beckham can't really stop that.
I mean,
He tried to throw it out of bounds.
Certainly an interesting choice for the WTF award, but I guess I can understand it. All right,
What's yours, Johnny?
I'm just going to jump in, and mine is What the Flapdoodler. That's actually a word I just Googled. What the Flapdoodler happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense? I mean,
It
what? Like I've sit here and I've said, Davante Adams didn't have offense. Alvin Kamara didn't really have offense. But what the flapdoodler? Where was Pittsburgh's offense? Big Ben had a $188 and 1 touchdown. You know who caught that touchdown? Deontay Johnson. Now, this solely and wholly tracks to fantasy football for me because I am the proud owner of, high running back draft pick Najee Harris. And, of course, last year I got lucky selecting Chase Claypool, or Carpool as he's known around our league. And combined, those two guys gave me 12 points. Combined. What the flapdoodle?
Johnny's just having a rough time.
It's a rough week, guys. I mean, my Dynasty team, which going into week 1 was like, yeah, this team could go to the dance. It's a good team.
Yeah.
And
you know what your problem was, Johnny?
They were my team?
No, you thought those projections were real.
Yeah.
Hoisted on my own petard. If I didn't get
Johnny did? You know what Johnny did making these notes? He's sitting there and he's like, what pissed me off this week? What really pissed me off? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I have grievances. I'm going to air them.
Well, look at that Steelers O-line, really. I mean, it's complete. The 4 guys who I think weren't on the team last year.
It just is inexcusable. It is inexcusable to me that Najee Harris averaged 2.8 yards per carry. That is inexcusable.
To be honest, the offensive line was better than I anticipated it being, with it not having many big names and being so, there's no continuity
thrown together?
To it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just thrown together, essentially. They didn't do as poor. There's worse offensive lines out there that played on Sunday that you wouldn't really expect that to happen. Not saying that they played well, but
they didn't.
It's not like Big Ben was out on his ass the whole night. And they played against a pretty good Buffalo defense. The Buffalo defensive line isn't something to just balk at.
Well, yeah, I think it was the entire offense. They didn't cross the 50-yard line in the first half, I think it was. So nothing was working in Pittsburgh.
Nothing was working for Buffalo either in the first half.
That was just a bad game.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was the two defenses just dominated.
But that's mine. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Okay. Seriously, pick it up, Ben. I need something good to happen in week 2.
You guys
Zach?
ready for another curveball? Ready for mine? Okay. My what the fun guy moment was the Raiders versus Ravens ending.
Oh boy.
What happened there?
The last 5 minutes of that game.
Yeah. It was just about who was trying to give the other team the win. Why did they press, even if you thought the other team was running, why did you have to bring all your safeties? You didn't drop one guy in support on the off chance what happened actually happened? Didn't we see someone do this last year? Didn't someone get fired off this? Isn't this how Buddy on the Jets got fired? Adam Gase?
Yep.
Isn't that what they did?
I mean, I think he got fired for being Adam Gase, but
they did the exact same thing. He did a full blitz with no safety support, all-out blitz, and then got beat over top for the game.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Why would you do the same thing when a coach literally got fired off that? And of all coaches who did it, I don't know, he is a very veteran coach. Harbaugh, I did not expect that guy to be the guy to make a move like that. That was questionable. I didn't understand it. That's my what the fun guy award moment, whatever you want to call it. That was crazy. And that made no sense.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's fair enough.
Team wanted to win, and it was great because when the Raiders scored that first overtime touchdown that was down at the 1, everyone just stormed the field. They're like, "Yeah, we won!" Guys are trading jerseys and
had the fan jump in the pool.
Replay comes in, it's we're not done yet, and then they throw the pick.
You also had the fan jump in the pool after that. The team, celebrate the win, jump in the pool, and then they lose 2 minutes later. What? Poor guy got all wet for nothing. All right. was an excellent use of this week's awards segment of the 2-minute drill this week. Now we're going to move on to what's going to be the final segment throughout the regular season and the playoffs, and that is the Pigskin Pick'ems. I'm riffing.
Hey, let's get it. Final segment. Let's go.
Final segment of the night, and here we are, actually doing good on time. Week 1 review.
This is sponsored by PETA, right?
This is not sponsored by PETA. All right. Week 1, not very good. I mean, it wasn't as bad as you'd think. The worst of us went 50%. The worst of us went 50%. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 6 games that we... Nope, that's incorrect. Everyone's answer is now subtracted by 1. Sorry, guys. I've the dog on that one a little bit.
Yes, you did.
I did, because I was so obvious I put down the Raiders as the losers in the last one.
What game were you watching?
Yeah.
Johnny shut the game off after that field goal kick.
Right?
Okay. All right. So the worst of us was 1 game below 500. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games that all 3 of us chose correctly. We all picked the Bucks, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Chiefs, and the Rams. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games where we all chose wrong. We all selected the Jags, the Vikings, the Packers, and the Ravens to win their respective games. Loser of this week, sorry Zach, that was you, 7 for 16. Incorrectly selecting the Jags, the Colts, the Vikings, the Bills, the Falcons, the Packers, the Giants, the Pats, and the Ravens. I'm next up, going 8 for 16, perfect 500. I incorrectly selected the Jags, the Vikings, the Titans, the Bills, the Falcons, the Packers, the Pats, and the Ravens. And Jer, winner of the week, 9 for 16, 1 game above 500, incorrectly selecting the Jags, the Vikings, the Titans, the Lions, the Bills, the Packers, and the Ravens.
You can say I know what I'm talking about.
You got 1 more than us. Wait till you choke next
Well,
week.
now hold on. You got
Shut
1
up.
more than me. You got 2 more than you.
Yeah.
Shut up. Shut up, both of you. Shut up.
You know what this means in England, pal?
I know what it means to Tyreek Hill. I'm about to score a touchdown.
I almost showed you what something means in English with my hands, but I didn't do it because we don't know if kids are going to watch.
Yeah, let's not do that. We're doing good so far. Including never once saying that F word that would be assumed to be the one we're choosing in the What the French Fry segment. All right, gentlemen, now it's time to select our winners for week 2. I'll give you the game. You guys pick the winner. I will start us off, and then Zach, and then Jer, because that's the left to right order on this spreadsheet that I have going.
Yeah, because I'm right.
First game is the Giants and the Washington football team. I'm going to pick the Giants because I don't trust Tyler Heineke. Zach?
Football team.
Jer?
Washington is going to crush the Giants.
Oh, boy. I stand alone. All right, that game might decide the week, depending on how it goes. All right, next game, Bengals, Bears. Yikes, I don't like going first. I'm gonna pick the Bengals. Zach?
I'm gonna double down on that and go with the Bengals.
And Jer?
Yeah, I like the Bengals. I don't think the Bears...
We have a consensus!
We saw what the Bears defense did last week, which wasn't much. And Burrow's going to throw for like 800 yards.
All right. I have a feeling this one's also going to be a consensus. It is the Houston Texans hosting the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to take the Texans because I'm an idiot. I'm taking the Browns.
Browns.
Yeah, the Browns are going to just, I don't know about destroy them, but they're going to win handily.
Sounded like you were about to waffle there.
I like the Texans a little bit more than the average.
All right, next game we have the Los Angeles Rams hosting the Indianapolis Colts. I I'm going to take the Rams. I actually like the way they looked in week 1.
Rams. I'm a Stafford guy. You know that. That's my boy.
Jer?
So
Yeah, the Rams. I really like the connection with Stafford and Van Jefferson.
Cooper Cup.
Okay. This next one, good divisional battle. Buffalo Bills host the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to pick the Bills because
I'm gonna
I
go
don't think
crazy.
they can do that 2 weeks in a row to themselves.
I'm gonna go crazy and take the Dolphins.
Okay. Jared?
I don't think the Bills will put up that bad of a performance 2 weeks in a row. Miami's riding high after that win. I would not take the Bills to win. I would probably take them to cover whatever the spread is, but yeah, I think they'll win, but it'll be close.
Good Lord. Okay.
I'm on the fence on that one. I like the Bills, but not enough to put money on.
All right, we got another divisional matchup here, also in the AFC East. It is the New England Patriots hosting the New York Jets. I am going to take the Pats. Mac Jones, baby.
I'm taking Pats. Bill doesn't lose the rookies. I don't think he's about to start.
Yeah, the Jets don't have enough there to beat the Patriots. The Patriots are a better team than they were last year. They got to fix a couple mistakes, less penalties. But yeah, I think the Patriots will win.
Heading into week 1, I would not have predicted this to be one of the week 2 games to watch, but I'm going to say it is. This is a week 2 game to watch. And that is the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a tough one for me to pick. I think the Eagles showed a lot in week 1. They really balled out. But there's just something about that 49ers team right now that's just clicking on all cylinders.
I got 49ers as well.
Jer, who you got? Niners or Eagles?
49ers are a good team. I think the offense is clicking, but I think Philadelphia has enough going for them right now. And until somebody beats them, I'm probably not going to pick them to lose right now.
All right. Next game, we have the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Steelers offense can miss 2 weeks in a row. So I think the offense is going to show up this week and they're going to do some damage to that Raiders defense.
I got Pittsburgh as well.
And Jer?
If the Raiders win this, they're coming from behind to win it. And I don't think they're going to be close enough to do that. So, yeah, the Steelers are going to win, but this game's going to be ugly. Not in a good way.
Is there a good way to be ugly?
Well, my ex-wife, but yeah.
Okay. Next game, we've got the New Orleans Saints hosting the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to take brutal efficiency for 200, Alex. Saints are going to win.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the 85 touchdowns.
I think the Saints are going to demolish them. James Winston for MVP.
All right, next game, you've got a team that did suffer some injuries this week, and another team that looked horrible in week 1. Denver Broncos versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am going to take the Broncos because the Jags don't seem like a football team yet.
am going to take the Jaguars because I don't like jinxing my team.
I think the Broncos will win handily. Jacksonville doesn't quite have it all together yet. And
Zach, if the Broncos win again this week, I don't think you can pick them the rest of the season. Because then they'd be 2-0 in games where you pick them to lose. I'm just saying.
I know. I know.
Zach wanted them to
I'm
win
okay
last
with
year, and
that.
they win 4 games.
All right.
One-
Next game, the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Arizona Cardinals. I picked against them in week 1, and that team made me hurt for doing that. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals again because if there's any quarterback I'd like to see sacked 5 times in a game, it's Kirk Cousins.
I'm gonna go Arizona as well. I want to pick the Vikings. Like there's something that got close, but I'm gonna go Arizona.
Jer?
I think Arizona is probably going to put up like 35 points on this team. So, yeah, Arizona's going to win handily. DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to do some more tippy-toe stuff in the end zone. And, they're going to feast on Kirk Cousins and beat him up a little bit. And, rip his leg off and beat him with it. And, yeah, because that's what the Cardinals defense does, apparently.
All right, next up we have the Atlanta Falcons hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. God, I hate making this pick. It makes me feel so awful and dirty, and I hate seeing him succeed because I really hate the guy, but it's the Bucs.
Tom's gonna throw 7 touchdowns, and then he's gonna be on pace for 85 for the year. So I'm taking Tom.
I think the Bucks are going to win. The Ronald Jones redemption tour starts now, and we'll see if he can do anything with it.
Not
But yeah,
half of them. You're crazy.
the
Seymour
Bucks are
Gio
going to
had-
win.
All right, coming down to the final stretch here, we have the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. I like the Cowboys, and I think their offense is pretty darn good, but
The secondary sucks.
don't think they're good enough to stop Herbert and the Chargers, so I'm going to take the Chargers.
I'm going to reverse Denver Broncos this one, and I'm gonna take the Dallas Cowboys because I want them to lose.
Using your powers for evil, Zach.
Yeah.
Choices were made.
I think the Chargers are a good team, and this game's going to be close, but I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to put them away. Dallas might get it right and just end up putting up more points than their opponent by the end of the game, because they're going to go back and forth and back and forth,
So Cowboys.
and it'll be 35-31, and then it'll be
It's gonna look like
37-35, and it'll
college
just keep going because the defenses are
and
not
the
great.
team holding the higher score when the final whistle goes in the fourth quarter will be the
Winners,
He said the Chargers. He
Dallas
admitted it.
Cowboys, baby.
he
Just
changed.
win.
Cowboys. Who's your dang pick, Dre?
Dallas Cowboys are going to win the football game.
Thank you. All right. Holy
Just win, baby. Yeah.
Holy macaroni. All right. 3 more games to go. The Tennessee Titans host the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to take the Titans because I think this week Derrick Henry's going to just eat. He's going to feast, I think. And I don't think Russ is going to be able to keep up with his, ridiculous 25-plus yard touchdowns to Lockett. And Metcalf was like silent-ish. I mean, I know he had a good game, but not a great game. So hopefully he'll eat this week. And I'm taking the Titans to win.
I'm taking the Seahawks. That Titans secondary is absolutely atrocious. It's probably worse than the Cowboys. I am not gonna. Yeah, I think the Seahawks are gonna be all over the Titans.
Jared, preferably without a 5-minute preamble.
Oh, the Titans are going to get torched, baby. They're going to get set on fire at midfield. It's going to be glorious. Russ going to be throwing 70-yard bombs all game. It's going to be fantastic.
Alrighty.
Rashad Penny is going to sit on the bench because that's what he does.
Alrighty then. All right. Sunday night primetime game. The Kansas City Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens. This game has decidedly become less exciting, yet more exciting. You know, this week's Ravens game was all chaos and awesomeness, but you're not going to get that against the Chiefs. It's going to be excitement for a whole other reason. That's going to be Patty Mahomes putting up like 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns and yeah.
Speaking of preambles,
Chiefs to win, obviously. Zach?
Chiefs.
Guys,
Jared?
I know it's 11:15 p.m. and I've been waiting all day and it's still not here yet.
What?
Sunday night.
Oh. Terrible.
I see Johnny trying to put it together.
No. You're singing the song. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
baby.
Awful. It's bad.
No, I think the Chiefs are going to win. It's probably going to be messy. I mean, Lamar Jackson will do what Lamar Jackson does. You know, run around a lot and fumble the ball. And the Chiefs are going to win probably by 15 points.
Okay. It's Monday night. It's prime time. It is the Detroit Lions hosting the Green Bay Packers. For the love of God, you cannot lose to a Matthew Stafford-less Detroit Lions team. Okay?
You had your time. You had your damn time.
I did. I already said this. Packers, because the offense is actually going to show up to play this game.
Green Bay.
And Jer?
I mean, I don't know who's going to win, but I know all my rowdy friends are coming over.
You remember what I said earlier, folks? We apologize for him and his jokes. Just be glad you only have to listen to them once a week.
A part of me wants to believe that the Packers will learn from their mistakes and actually show up and play football and be the team that we all expected the Green Bay Packers to be. That being said, those fourth quarter Lions looked pretty scary. If that team shows up, they're going to win. But I think, like the consensus says, I think the Packers are finally going to get at least something together. I mean, they don't even need to be a good team. They just need to function. You know, they're not going to put up 35 points. And, you know, Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns. And they don't need to be that against the Lions. They need to put it together enough to not let the Lions make a comeback like they did last week. I think Green Bay is going to win, but it's probably going to be real ugly getting there.
Fair enough. All right, folks. That's a wrap. We got nothing else here. That was the end of our pick'ems.
Does that mean Zach posts it on Instagram?
What?
It's a wrap. And now he's stealing my pencil gimmick.
Yeah, you see that? You see
Yeah,
that?
I caught you. You've been using the pencil all night.
Oh boy. All right.
You're gonna mess it up. You're gonna mess it up. You can't do it. You're gonna flop.
Yeah, we'll watch this.
That's gonna do it for episode 6 of the Inside Handoff. We hope you guys had as much fun with us tonight as we had making this for you guys. As always, it has been a great deal of fun. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/the Inside Handoff Podcast. Jared, tell them where they can find us on Twitter.
You can find us on Twitter at Handoff Inside. We make lots of, entertaining, thoughtful, just a whole bunch of posts. Check us out. We follow back. As long as you're not like some OnlyFans bot that follows us, and then I feel awkward hitting the follow back button. But
yeah, maybe don't follow them back.
Yeah, it happened last week. Because I'll scroll through and do follow backs because I like football content, and that one just showed up, and I'm like, I'm breaking my follow back promise on that one.
All right, and Zach, throw a plug up for something you do.
I do nothing.
Well, I was opening the door for you to plug one of your like Instagrams or something, but yeah.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know you. I didn't try to. I didn't want to, encroach on this territory with that.
Well, you're open about your I don't do anything for you guys except show up on game day streak. So
hey man, that's
Green Bay doesn't even do that.
Oh, come on now. I'm gonna need actual therapy if you keep that up.
Just know that I appreciate the work you guys put in to make this go down, so I don't have to do much. And you work with my very, spontaneous schedule, whether it's at 9 p.m. or 1 a.m.
This is true.
Or Wednesday or Friday or Sunday. Though I know I have to be diligent on the Wednesday stuff now that the season started.
Yeah, because we got football tomorrow night.
Tomorrow?
I know.
Night where we will.
I'll make sure Wednesdays I'm ready.
We'll see who whether I get the lone point or if I get left behind. We'll see when we find out the results next week. We hope you guys had fun. We enjoyed this. For Jer, for Zach, I'm Johnny. We'll see you next week for another episode of The Inside Handoff.